welcome to another spectacular Math 130 Java programming lecture on video. Today we're going to look at a little bit of a complex example for nested if statements. So take a look at this example 9 here. Suppose a student's letter grade is calculated according to this table, which is actually the usual grading policies for most instructors. So if we need to write a program that's going to allow the student to enter the test score they have and then have the program display that score, the pseudocode for the algorithm is going to be as follows. First, we'll ask the user to enter a test score, and then we'll capture that test score, of course. And then we'll determine the grade in the following manner. If the score is less than 60, the grade is F. Otherwise, we'll check to see if the score is less than 70, and then the grade's D. And then if the score is less than 80, the grade will be C. If the score is less than 90, the grade is B. Otherwise, the grade will be A. Now, there is an alternative way to do this, to start at the top instead of starting at the bottom, where we would start asking to see the test score greater than or equal to 90. If not, is it greater than or equal to 80, and so on. And I will show that in my code today. So, if we wanted to look at a lovely flow diagram for this decision structure, this is what it would look like. Holy guacamole, we start in here from the top. If the score is less than 60, true, then you'd print out the grade as F. If false, you'd go over here and you check to see if the score is 70. If true, print out a D. Otherwise, false, go down here and check to see if the score is less than 80. If it's true, print out your grade as a C. False, keep going, and then check to see if your score is less than 90. If true, your grade's B. If false, keep going. And if your score is less than or equal to 100, which I claim at this point you wouldn't need to check. You could actually erase this little diamond structure and immediately just print out the grade as A. I don't know why they'd have here the grade is X. I guess if you got 102%, the teacher wouldn't want to give you an A, but I think they should give you an A plus maybe. So going on, let's fill in some of the blanks here and get our program going. So we have public class nested test grade is the class name, and we have our main. And if we're going to declare our scanner, and we're naming it keyboard for short, new, what goes in this blank? Well, the word scanner again. That Java requires that when you're instantiating an object. And then we keep going. We have an int variable test score, and we're going to use that to capture the keyboard input. So here's our prompt. Please enter your numeric test score, and I will tell you your grade. Test score equals, we're going to put in the blank here the name of the scanner, keyboard, dot, and we're capturing an int variable, so next int, where the I is capitalized, empty parentheses. Now we start the if, else, and nested if chains here. So, if what? We wanted to see if the test score, oops, I'm spelling that wrong, test score is less than 60. If that's true, and we'll even though it's a one-liner and we don't need these curly braces, you can put them in, we're going to do a system.out.println, and I'm going to abbreviate this for short, sys.out.pln, and we'll just print F, and then we're going to check, we're going to have an else statement, but within that else, since we're doing nested if-else, we're going to start off by doing an if statement and asking, is the test score now less than 70? And if that's the case, then we'll have another println statement, and I'm abbreviating again, sys.out.println, print out a D, and that, and then else, and then we're going to keep going. We have our nested if test score, what's the next thing we need to check for here? Less than 80, and for that if we'll have a system.out.println, and we'll print out the grade of C, and then we keep going here. We're running out of room. Else, and then within this else, you'll indent and start if test score less than 90. So we got to keep going here. You would have your curly braces here, and you'd have a system.out.println, print out a B, and here I claim your else. You don't need to have a condition check here, so it'll be just the trailing else that we talked about before. And since this is a one-liner, and I'm not going to put the curly braces, we'll have system.out.println A. You have to end all of these, or match all of those curly braces that we had here with matching ones. So this one would need, and then this one here, you'd need to line it up, and then this one here, you'd need one as well. So make sure you always have your curly braces line up to make it all match. So this would work. So if I wanted to check this in NetBeans, so I happen to have NetBeans ready to go here. Let's see how this would work. So we do need to fill in these blanks just like I had in your program here. So remember, there's a lot of red bubbles right now. This would be the word scanner. And then this here, if we're going to capture the keyboard data, we would have keyboard dot next int with a capital I, empty parentheses, and now we're going to start the if nested if if test score less than 60. Notice I'm putting spaces. Whoops, that's got to be a less than symbol on either side of the relational operator. That makes it look prettier. So this is going to be a one-liner, so I really don't need to have curly braces here. I can get away with not. So I'm going to print out an F there. And then what am I going to do next? Else, and I know this seems ridiculous, but we actually don't need to have curly braces here for all the rest of this because it's considered one big old one-liner, but we'll put them in there just to make things look kind of neat and pretty, and we'll talk about matching those curly braces and by lining them up. So here in the else, we're going to check for another condition. We're going to check to see if the test score space less than 70, and if that's the case, we will print out the letter D, and you have to know how to type pretty well, which I'm not that good at. Else, and we're going to, and notice it does all the lining up of these curly braces for me, which is really nice. So now I'm going to check if test score less than 80, and if that's the case, I'll print out the grade of C. Let's see here. And then we still have to keep going with our nested. We're going to go test another else. We're not going to do a check here. We're going to go down and let's have another curly brace. And we have one more if statement here that's nested. If test score is less than 90, what are we going to do? We're going to do they get a B. Don't forget your semicolon to the end. And finally, I'm having a trailing else here. I don't need to put any curly braces or even a condition. I'm simply going to say else because this is the very last possible outcome. If there were more outcomes, you might want to not have a trailing else, and there may be a condition that you won't have anything done, which is possible. And notice that all of these curly braces are already matching and lined up for me. Now here, you see I have an error. Why? Because I spelled test score wrong. Needed a capital S. Are there any other errors that I could correct here? Let's see what it says there. Semicolon expected. is that not a semicolon? Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to run this code. If it doesn't run, we'll have to fix it. Nope. Okay, we seem to have fixed our prompting. I think there was a word way far out there that I had to delete. It kept seeing it. So now I can run this code. So if I come over here, nested test grade, I will right-click and run the file. So it says run. So how about if we put a 79? Oh, it's telling us we got a C. Wonderful. Looks like it's working. How about we put, if we run this again, how about a 92? Whoops. Yeah. A. Okay. So and you can try more of these. So it looks like our code is indeed running. That is fabulous. For those of you who want to see another way to do this, keep watching. Otherwise, we're done, and congratulations and good luck coding. But for those of you who want to see an alternate way to do this nested if-else, keep watching. So let's go back to hand doing this, and if I come down here, and I'm going to run out of paper, so I'm going to need to add a page here. So let's add another blank page. That looks good. And let's look at what the nested if-else would look like if we decided to do this with starting with checking to see if the test score is greater than or equal to 90. There's a way you can do that. So this would, if true, print out, and I'm going to again abbreviate, A, and then we'd start our else, and then we'd get in here and we'd say, well, if test score greater than or equal to 80, then we would print out, oops, that you should indent this, system.out.println B, and then we'd keep going, else, then we would check to see if test score greater than equal to 70, and then if that were true, we would print out the grade of C. Else, keep going, we would have a nested if, test score greater than equal to 60, and if that were true, we would print out a grade of D, and then we just need a trailing else here because there's no other possibility. If your grade isn't greater than or equal to 60, it must be less than 60, and in which case you can just print out the grade of F, and these printlns should all have semicolons, of course, and then if we were going to make sure that all of these curly braces match up with an ending curly brace, it's always important, although NetBeans is really nice in that NetBeans does all that for you. And that's it. And thank you for watching.